senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and former Arab-Israeli negotiator for the State Department, Aaron David Miller, and retired commander of the U.S. Army Europe, Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. All right, so Keir, this ceasefire, holding so far, it is nightfall out there. Is it going to continue to hold? Big question.
Yes, I think the answer is probably yes, but it's fragile still, even after that intervention from President Trump, which I think, because it was so outspoken with the expletive, it really got the Israelis' attention. It will have got the Iranians' attention in the sense of that, you kind of don't quite know where you are with this guy. I think that it probably put things on a firmer footing. Certainly, we've been talking, Katie, this week about the U.S. base that's right behind me here in Iraq. Okay, so we've not seen any strikes on that. So that missile strike, attempted strike against that base in Qatar, that may be it for now. Certainly, there are mixed reports about how the Israelis are viewing all of this. They certainly appear to believe that they have achieved a great victory. They have done enormous damage to Iran's ballistic missile capability as well as its nuclear program. Questions remain about just how much damage has been done to that nuclear program. But I think the bigger question now that's coming is not just about can you get these two sides to stop fighting, but what are the negotiations that need to happen and how do you manage to get the two sides to compromise? For example, what happens to that? Again, we talk about it again and again, but it's so important. What happens to that highly enriched uranium that the Iranians had?
Yeah, and whether, where it is, frankly, no one's quite sure of that. Here's Donald Trump landing, by the way, in the Netherlands. Right. He's there for the NATO summit. Keir, it's just moments ago. Keir, you spent so much time out there in the region. I wonder, in terms of trying to negotiate further, the next steps, what sort of involvement are we going to see from neighbors? There's reporting that the Qataris were actually pretty involved in getting the ceasefire done. The Qataris have been playing a pretty big role across the Middle East lately, especially being the go-between between Iran and the U.S. and Hamas and Israel. Should we expect the Qataris to play another major role?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of the Gulf countries will likely play a substantial role. The Qataris have a stronger relationship with the Iranians. They share a gas field. So they are the obvious candidates, as well as the Omanis, to help these negotiations. I am told, I was told last night by a diplomat with knowledge that the Qataris were very much involved in the negotiations to get to this ceasefire. I will say this, and it's something I think that is missed. The Arab nations here, and I would add on the Russians even, and maybe even the Chinese, in fact, not maybe, they don't really want to see the Iranians have a nuclear weapon. It's incredibly destabilizing if it did take place. And a lot of these countries in the region haven't liked the amount of ballistic missiles that the Iranians have had. So if all of this, these 12 days, have substantially diminished all of that, they will be pleased about that, even if they are not saying that publicly. But there are a couple of questions. One is, was this the right way to go about it? And the other is, how substantial have those capabilities been diminished? And I just will say, we're going to talk, obviously, about that question, but it's actually very, very hard to know at this stage. It's going to take a while before we know exactly where the Iranians have been left at this point.
Yeah, and there's also a question of what is going to motivate the Iranians now. And, General, I'll ask you this question. It was a muted response yesterday. And Keir and I were talking about it in real time. The missiles launched to Al Udeid Air Base, at Al Udeid Air Base, by the Iranians. They're saying that, it was a win for them. They feel like they've gotten retribution. But in terms of scale, it is kind of drastically different. I wonder if this signals to you that Iran's going to lay low for a little while and regroup.
I definitely believe it does. That was the intent of that strike against a place that had a great deal of symbolism because it First of all, is the place where CENTCOM headquarters forward is located. President Trump visited there several weeks ago and pumped up the troops and told them that America's enemies are frightened by how good they are. So and it's close to Iran. It's one of the closer countries to Iran, so it could be struck with a relatively simple array of missiles. But yeah, it was definitely a signal. And, going back to what Keir was just saying too, Katie, we're in the very early stages of this. And that's why a lot of people are shrugging their shoulders and saying, hey, we're skeptical about what might happen next, or we don't know what's going to happen next, because a ceasefire is temporary, very temporary. And it's unilateral or bilateral or brokered by someone else. And the Qataris certainly played a part in that. But then it moves to something called the cessation of hostilities. That's the next phase. And that's when there's formal agreements and terms of conduct by both sides. That's when it's really going to get sporty. And you have to go through that process. And you've seen historically that those sometimes take months or even years to turn around before it can ever get to something called a peace treaty. Even the peace treaty throughout our history have been somewhat tenuous. So I'm suspect that this is going to go as quickly and without further expletives by the president than what we already saw this morning.
Yeah, and just getting to a peace treaty, I wonder, and Aaron, I'll give this to you, if the Israelis believe that they can get to a peace treaty with this current regime. I mean, is this what the Israelis want, just to take out the nuclear capabilities? Again, there's a question of whether they were even able to do that. Or do they want to go back to, or do they want regime change? Before this regime, there was, Iran and Israel, and tell me if I'm wrong, they got along.
Well, you had the Shah. The Shah also wanted nuclear weapons. Look, you have a state, Iran, which has a profound sense of entitlement and a profound sense of insecurity. It's highly ideological. And frankly, I think before we get to a peace treaty, and no, I don't think there's going to be a peace treaty between the State of Israel and the current Islamic Republic. But as usual, General Hertling, I think, broke the code. I mean, this is a ceasefire. I mean, was it done on the back of a cocktail napkin? What are the conditions? What are the strengths and the constraints? And what are the expectations? What are the rules of the road? Are the Israelis allowed to preempt and prevent if they see the Iranians funneling precision-guided missiles to Hezbollah? What about reconstituting their program? What if the Israelis discover a cache of advanced centrifuges in an undisclosed site that the Iranians are ginning up? The current Israeli government is not going to go after those. So the next phase of this is going to be very problematic. One last point, because the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, borrowing a metaphor from Khomeini, who in 1988 drank of the poison chalice in order to end the Iran-Iraq war. I don't think that Ali Khamenei is going to be drinking out of any more poison chalices. Not after what the Americans have done, humiliating the Iranians and the Israelis as well. So again, if you freeze frame this, you could say, yes, it's a success. But the headline, Katie, is not nearly as important as the trend line. And the trend lines are going to be very problematic.
But there's also the question, Aaron, of whether Khamenei survives this. His rule survives this. And I was talking to Karim Sajidpour, who is a colleague of yours at the Carnegie Endowment. I think maybe one of the best experts when it comes to Iran. And he made the point that this is not a regime that is going to last for all that much longer. It might be 6 months, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years. But he's arguing that this is the beginning of the end for them.
And Karim may be right. And there is no better Iranian analyst, in my judgment, than Karim Sajidpour. But Karim would also tell you that there's a high probability that the next regime is not going to be dominated by clerics who are risk averse. It's going to be dominated by IRGC. The military is going to be a securitized state. And the question is, if that is where this is going, if that's the trend line here, then the odds increase that next regime may actually want to borrow from a page that Gaddafi didn't and Kim Jong-un did, that the ultimate hedge for their security is a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, and there was also, General, an argument from Richard Haass, who, formerly of the Council on Foreign Relations, the President Emeritus, who argued that if you go back in time and give Bill Clinton the chance to take out the nuclear capabilities of North Korea, that maybe it would have been a good idea to do so at the time. This is the counter argument. because the strategy of appeasement, of trying to negotiate, clearly did not work with North Korea. So, I mean, not to argue all sides of this here, but it is such a complicated region, and it's so impossible to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm stunned. I hadn't heard Richard Haass say those things about the potential for doing the same in North Korea. But, you know, a lot of this is context, Katie, as Aaron David certainly knows. Things change over time. And you can say, boy, we wish we could go back to 1995 and change everything that happened, or go back to the Shah of Iran and change the way we did things. But we didn't. So you have to deal with the present, and that's what we're attempting to do right now. But there are so many dynamics. And, you know, again, the president saying these people have been fighting for a long time and they don't understand, they just need to get along. I mean, that is really a sophomoric view of conflict in various regions. When you've had, I'm going to go back to the peace processes now, you can go through history and look at every single peace process that was conducted, whether it was the Treaty of Versailles after World War I, the Dayton Accords in 95, the Good Friday Agreements in 98 in Northern Ireland, and each one of them had tenuous conditions that caused the competing sides to argue for years. And none of those that I just named had half the animosity that the Israelis and the Iranians have. So this is not going to be an easy process. It's going to take a very long time. And it was really bought off on the fact that Iran didn't see any other opportunity that they could use to get out of the situation that they're in right now.
All right, General Hertling, really good to have you. Aaron David Miller, as always, good to have you. And Keir Simmons, you too.